my little butterflies. It's been so long since The Broken Mirror Season 1, but here we are with the next and final season of The Broken Mirror, which is now called The Broken Mirror: The Last Shard. This season is only 8 chapters, but each is pretty long. If you haven't watched the trailer for The Broken Mirror: The Last Shard and the full read-through of The Broken Mirror, please go ahead and do that before we continue, because no spoilers here. We are so grateful for you guys because none of this would have been possible without our wonderful audience. During this time, we also finished Revelations of the Scarf a little while ago, so if you're looking for something fun to watch/listen to, go check that out. This chapter is written by all of us, the art was done by Lazy, and today I will be voicing the narrator, Adrien/Noir, Miss Bustier, and Rose.
Hi guys, it's been way too long since we've started this series, and I'm so incredibly happy that we're giving it the ending it deserves. So today, I will be voicing Marinette and Tom.
I couldn't agree more with Lazy. I am so happy with how this turned out. Today, I'll be voicing Alya, Sabine, and Nino.
Alright, so we've reached 1,000 followers on Spotify, which is literally insane. We couldn't have been able to do this without all of your support. We love you all so much. Please like, subscribe, comment. We also read every single one of your comments, and they fill every single one of us with joy, so thank you so much. Alright, now, at last. Chapter 1. Alya? It's been 2 months. Grief had no calendar, but Marinette counted away. It's been 2 months. 60 days since Alya and Lila went missing. 60 days of hell. Since the day the tower fell, nothing's been the same. Memories of that night would run stray through Marinette's mind. Lila being thrown over the lady's head, Alya transforming into Shadow Master, and she still remembered the feeling of the lady's hand enclosing around her neck. That was supposed to be it. The day it ended, but it wasn't. Instead, the tower began its crumble and everyone was thrown off. For weeks, Marinette would wake up in the dead of night, cold sweat sticking to her skin and screaming like a madman for the girl who fell. Every night she'd see her. Every night Alya would call out to her. Every night she'd succumb to the tower. Every night Marinette would jump off after her. And just like every night, she couldn't change her fate. No matter how hard she tried, how fast she ran, Alya would still fall. A nightmare with no remedy. It was a Friday night at the tail end of April. The sun was high in the sky and clouds floated around, sometimes scattering the rays and putting a gray filter on the city below. Marinette and her classmates were in the second to last class of the day. Marinette scribbled silently on the edge of her notebook. She didn't care to listen to the lesson her history teacher was giving, even though she promised to be studious, a promise she made after her parents left. She remembered stumbling into her room the evening it happened. Her head had been bursting and she felt her broken heart in every inch of her body. She'd fall onto her bed helplessly and silently screamed into her pillow. She clutched it as if her life depended on it, and at that moment, it did. Not even minutes later, there was a knock on her hatch leading to the lower levels.
Marinette?
Her mom called. Marinette had stayed silent. She didn't have the mental capacity to do anything. The hatch had opened.
Marinette, we need to talk to you.
Again, Marinette had stayed silent, weeping into her pillow. There was a brief moment of silence. The pit in her stomach had grown exponentially. Rivers of tears were soaked up by her pillow. Strands of her hair was glued to her face. She was a mess.
Marinette, come down, please.
When the hatch had closed, she had slowly sat up and pushed the damp strands of hair out of her face. She had swallowed hard and tried as much as possible to steady her breath. In the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of a picture of Alya. As quickly as the feeling traveled throughout her body, she clapped a hand over her mouth, trying so hard to suppress a gasp and sob. Her eyes had shut tightly as she recovered from the sudden bullet to her heart. When she finally made it down the stairs, she noticed her parents frantically moving around the house.
What's going on here?
Marinette asked. Sabine looked at her daughter.
My uncle, he's not doing well. His caregiver called me and told me that just in case, we should go over.
She continued throwing things into bags. Marinette's eyes widened.
Okay, I'll go pack my bag.
She then started running to her room.
Not so fast!
Tom yelled. Marinette stopped and turned to look at her parents.
What? When are we leaving? Because I need a pack. You're not going.
Marinette stared at her parents with confusion.
Not unless you tell us about Chat Noir. What do you mean? Nothing is going on with me and Chat Noir.
Marinette said frantically. Sabine groaned in frustration.
Pictures, Marinette, of you and him on your balcony. You can't deny that, so tell us what the hell is going on.
Marinette looked at her parents frantically.
Okay, I can explain it. It's just complicated.
Sabine and Tom crossed their arms.
Well, go ahead. We have all night.
Marinette took a deep breath. She took another deep breath.
I can't right now. It's just a lot.
Sabine sighed and turned to her husband.
Well,
She turned to her daughter.
unless you can tell us what's going on, then you can't come.
Marinette's eyes widened.
Mom, that's not fair.
No, what's not fair is you're failing your classes, you're dating a superhero, and you're constantly running off, and we don't question it. This ends today. You're gonna tell us what's going.
Sabine yelled at her daughter. Marinette was taken off guard. She can't. There was no way this would end well, whether she told the truth or spun it. She looked at her parents and sighed.
I wish I could. I really do, Mom. I can't right now.
Tom and Sabine looked at one another and then back to Marinette.
We can't do this much longer, Marinette. When we come back, your grades need to be better. You need to clean up whatever the hell is happening with Noir, or you need to have a good explanation for all of this.
Tom said. Marinette stuttered.
But...
No buts. You're lucky we're closing the bakery too, or you would have had to handle that. Figure it out, Marinette. Now go up to your room.
Sabine said, pointing to the stairs. Marinette looked between her parents. Their looks were stern. The only thing that was going to change their minds was an explanation, and she couldn't give that. She groaned and ran up the stairs to her room. Once the hatch was closed, Tiki came out of her hiding spot. Marinette turned to the crimson Kwame.
It's not fair.
Tiki gave her a comforting smile.
I know.
Back in the classroom, she continued to scribble on her piece of paper. Her hair was in 2 messy braids she had thrown together, and she had thrown on a black hoodie and whatever pants she could find. It wasn't living. It was merely surviving the day. Marinette's eyes wandered through the classroom. All these people who didn't know what was happening, how their lives were at risk with every breath they exhaled. She saw Chloe and her minion Sabrina. Chloe was filing her nails, blowing away the dust of keratin created. Sabrina, on the other hand, was slaving away, writing notes of what their teacher was droning on about. None of this affected them. They barely knew Alya and Lila existed. Behind the two sat Milan and Alex, some of her good friends. All the way in the back were Rose and Juleka, rounding out the group of friends she used to keep. It was back before Marinette had told Alya about her double life, and they all used to hang out. From there, things got sticky and Marinette began relying more on Alya. She was the one person who knew her responsibilities. And slowly, they all stopped hanging out together. It wasn't too much of an immediate response from the 4 girls after Alya disappeared. After a few days of Alya's absence, they asked her where Alya was. Marinette didn't know what to say. The truth? She could tell them she was on a trip, but how could she lie to them? What if Alya never came back? Eventually, everyone asked. Marinette told them the same lie, that Alya was on a trip and would be back soon. It became an accepted truth until the same people began asking about Lila, the girl who sat in the back next to Nathaniel. For the time being, everyone had forgotten about it. Marinette's eyes found the 2 boys in front of her, Adrien and Nino. Adrien had saved her that first week back. Marinette was a mess, and those photos Lila released as a final touch weren't helping. The boys, Kim especially, made jokes about Marinette being a homewrecker. Everyone else's questions weren't rude or degrading, but still were a lot to handle. How was she supposed to tell them they weren't true without telling them she was Ladybug? That's when Adrien came in. He deflected their questions for her. She didn't ask him to, but he did. When questions of the both of them came up, he shut them down. To protect Marinette, he told everyone he had a girlfriend, someone who didn't go to the school. Even when it circulated about Marinette and Chat Noir's relationship, Adrien was there, pinning it on himself for not showing up to prom that night. After a while, everyone got the memo and stopped asking questions. Marinette was forever grateful for him, but never put too much thought into why he did so. Adrien's father even seemed to disappear. She didn't know much, but heard that Gabriel Gress went missing a few days before everyone else had gone. It was weird, almost as if he was connected to it all. Then again, he was Gabriel Gress. He had always randomly disappeared and reappeared whenever he pleased. Then there was Nino. Everything was fine within the first days. Maybe her phone got run over and she couldn't buy a new one. As the days turned into weeks, and soon into months, Nino began suspecting something severely wrong. Marinette watched him fall apart, sometimes catching glimpses of Nino crying to Adrien. In between classes and silences, he would pick up his phone and call someone or send a quick text. Marinette didn't need to ask to know that it was Alya. Her heart would tug, but she walked the other way. Nothing she could do as Marinette would be close to what she could do as Ladybug. But even as Ladybug, there's only so much she could uncover. The organization the ladies seemed to have worked for was untraceable. The nights after everyone's disappearance, Ladybug and Chat Noir would revisit every place they could think of that might serve a purpose or harbor clues. They revisited the secret room under their school. It was a hidden place that wouldn't have been discovered otherwise, and it took a bit for Ladybug and Chat Noir to find the same button Lila had pressed that day. When the elevator descended and stopped, their hopes were high. The door opened, and somehow there was a brick wall set in place. It was dusty and dark, and almost like they was there for years. Chat Noir even tried destroying the bricks with this cataclysm, but the row of bricks only destroyed to show another one. It was clear that the room had been filled in. They entered the sewers and found their way back to the underground base Lila had created. There was still the makeshift table in the middle of the room and the flickering light above head. As they searched the entire room, they found anything that could lead them back to the organization was gone. Files that once filled cardboard boxes to the brim had been cleaned out. Worst of all, the laptop and USB that they had once used themselves were shattered into a million pieces on the table. Whoever was doing this knew how to take them off and was doing a good job at it. The bell rang as Marinette was pulled from her thoughts. She pulled up her backpack and placed it on her desk, packing up her things. Finally, her gaze landed on the seat next to her. Alya's seat. Her eyes stung and she mouthed the words, "I'm sorry." She was sorry for not catching her and letting her plummet, but most of all, she was sorry for not knowing what to believe in or where to find her. As the rest of the class shuffled out, Marinette slung the backpack over her shoulders, stepping down the stairs. Marinette was halfway out the door when she noticed Adrien turn around from in front of her. "Marinette!" Adrien started, catching up to her pace. His voice softened. "How are you?" Marinette held his gaze for a second before dropping it.
I'm doing fine, I think.
She added. They continued their way to Miss Bustier's literature class. "That's good." He paused. "Nino hasn't been too well. He misses Alya more than he cares to admit." Marinette nodded solemnly. "I guess we've all been sort of rattled up. Nino's been calling her and texting her every chance he gets. His messages aren't being delivered, though. I'm worried about him." Ahead of them, Nino was walking slowly with his phone to his ear, mumbling something.
I wish I knew more.
Marinette trailed off before directing her attention to a new topic.
What about you? How are you doing?
"Well, I'm worried. My father's gone on a work trip, 2 of our friends have gone missing, and no one seems to notice anything wrong." Adrien finished, pinching the bridge of his nose.
I don't know what there is for us to do.
Marinette said. As they approached the door, they watched Nino shove his phone into his pocket. "I wish things weren't like this," Adrien finally said.
Me too.
With their eyes sad, they entered the classroom and found their seat. Marinette's behind Adrien's. Like clockwork, Marinette took out her notebook and began her final hour in class. Miss Bustier stood up from her chair and began. "Good morning, class." The class mumbled the response back, and Marinette doodled a small star on the corner of her notebook. "Now, before we begin today's lesson, I have a surprise for you all. As you know, your classmates Alya and Lila haven't been with us for a couple of months now." Marinette's heart stopped at the mention of Alya's name and she looked up, her interest piqued. "Alya has been on a family vacation in a remote area. That's why she hasn't talked to anyone from here." Miss Bustier continued.
Family vacation?
Marinette thought.
There's no way.
"Luckily, she has finally reached an area with Wi-Fi and I set up a video call with her." Marinette was confused. How was Alya on a vacation? How did she get there? She looked at Nino in front of her, who looked almost as confused as she was. Miss Bustier stepped behind her desk and clicked a few times on her computer. The projector turned on and the call began connecting. Marinette gulped. She somehow felt hopeful. After all, she was about to find Alya. Her stomach twisted with every pulse of the loading icon. Her leg bounced, out of her control. Marinette became jittery and thought about what Alya would say.
Hey, I've been manipulating all of you through an organization that wants to take over the world. Are we still friends?
Who did she even work for at this point? Marinette's hands grew sweaty and the grip on her pencil tightened. Suddenly, a sound played through the room's speakers and Alya appeared on the projector screen. Marinette felt her eyes sting and her throat felt tight. There she was, her reddish-brown hair in slight curls around her shoulders and her grayish-gold eyes staring at her in the class. They were the same eyes she'd watched fall off the tower. She smiled.
Hi, guys!
It was her voice, her appearance, her smile. The classroom screamed back their hellos and highs.
"We miss you, Alya!"
Rose shouted, her high-pitched voice cutting through to Alya.
Yeah, I miss you too, Juleka.
Alya said, not a hint of sadness on her face and not catching her mistake. The class went quiet until Juleka said something.
I'm Juleka. That's Rose.
She pointed towards this short-haired blonde with eyes of diamonds. The Alya on screen faltered and tapped a palm to her forehead.
Right, sorry, you just sounded so similar for a second.
That was when Marinette realized something was wrong. And then it hit her, something that had been staring at her face. Among her strapped top and mole above her right eyebrow, Marinette had forgot to note one of her main descriptors, her glasses. She was wearing her glasses, the ones that were left on the floor that day, the ones that were sitting at home on Marinette's desk.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing good. I'm currently on an island with my family in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know when I will be returning, so don't wait for me, and good luck on your exams!
The Alya on screen smiled brightly. The class yelled back their thanks, and this time Adrien raised his hand. Yes, Adrien? Miss Bustier called. So, what island in the Pacific are you on, exactly? he asked, saying the words Marinette thought but couldn't articulate. The Alya on screen laughed.
That's a good question, but I'm not too sure exactly.
The girl on screen glanced away from the camera.
It's been good seeing you guys, but I'm gonna have to run right now. See y'all soon.
The call ended. The boy in the red cap who sat in front of her raised his hand.
Can I use the restroom?
He asked. His voice sounded tight. If he wasn't crying already, it was clear he would be soon. Miss Bustier nodded and he exited the room, his head down, clutching his phone. Marinette couldn't feel anything. Her mind was numb. Adrien glanced back at her, but she couldn't force any words out. Too bad Alya couldn't stay in chat. Miss Bustier smiled, clicking a few more times on her computer. Well, next we have Lila. She's been working hard away from home and she wanted to drop in today. The screen loaded a few more times before the call connected. Marinette wondered what lies would be told about Lila as her face loaded into frame.
Hi, friends!
The Lila on screen started. Her bangs were perfectly cut and her skin was pristine. There were no signs of the fight she'd endured just 2 months ago. Marinette stared into her green eyes, a vivid sound of her bones cracking replaying in her head. Just like with Alya, the class had their hellos and highs, just not as vocal as they were before. Somehow, an odd feeling rested like a fog in the classroom. Marinette watched her speak and observed her mannerisms.
It's been way too long since I've seen you all.
She paused, surveying the room.
I have a good reason for being gone, though.
Marinette furrowed her eyebrows. What could possibly be a good reason?
You guys are all aware of Mr. Regress' leave, I'm sure.
The class nodded and Adrien seemed to freeze.
Turns out, Mr. Regress personally chose me as the international face of his brand.
The room erupted in a round of applause. Very good, Lila. Miss Bustier clapped.
Thank you.
The Lila on screen smiled. Chloe scoffed. Utterly ridiculous. You should have made me the face. I'm so much more competent than her.
I appreciate your concern, Chloe, but you see, most of the work I'm doing includes going to these very unsafe small communities and helping them learn to sew.
Lila started while Chloe rolled her eyes.
It's scary sometimes, but I love helping these people.
Everyone began expressing their admiration for Lila.
Oh, you all are so sweet. Now, I should go before I take too much away from Miss Bustier's class time.
The Lila on screen fluttered her fingers and the class waved goodbye to the girl. Thank you, Lila, for your consideration. Stay safe out there. Miss Bustier hovered over the button to end the call.
Of course. Bye, everyone.
With that, the call ended. There's no way that was the real them. They had no traces of scars or bruises or anything. And Lila being a part of Adrien's father's business trip, something was definitely wrong. With that, Miss Bustier found the perfect segue to our next lesson. Marinette couldn't help feeling sick. Even Adrien in front of her seemed to zone out. She stared at the lined piece of paper in front of her. Was it really them? Their voices replayed in her head. They were so similar to the real thing. It was like their body doubles and studied them perfectly. Almost. Anyone else would have believed it, but to Marinette, it was a hard pill to swallow. They weren't perfect, no. Like the skin of the 2 girls had been laid over 2 random people plucked off the street. No one could tell that these were the girls who orchestrated everything in the past almost 2 years. Like living a nightmare, seeing the 2 girls for the first time in the 2 months had awoken her fears. Silently, Marinette pictured the entire dusk detail by detail. She watched the 2 girls fight the lady, her jaw tense and her eyes fixated at the point on her desk, fighting tears as the world blurred around her. Screams filled her ears as the tower collapsed around her once again. Just as the girls began her descent from the tower, the bell rang loudly through the school. Marinette shook slightly at the sudden noise and remembered what she was supposed to do now. The notebook in front of her had scribbles all over it, and the pencil in her hand had broken at the tip. Marinette blinked away the remaining liquid from her eyes and timidly shoved both the notebook and pencil into her backpack. The sound she drowned out slowly became more comprehensible again. Just as Marinette was zipping up her backpack, a hand placed on hers. Marinette's eyes darted up to meet with Adrien's. The green of his eyes reminded her of Chat Noir's, the one person she could trust. Her eyes began watering once more, against her will. "Did you hear me?" he asked, Marinette watching his lips like she was trying to comprehend the words escaping them.
What?
She asked, her face stuck in the same expression. "Are you okay?"
Okay.
She asked, her throat closing up.
I don't know.
Holding his gaze, she noticed how reflective his eyes looked, similar to her own. Nino never came back. Marinette adopted a new expression, feeling the weight of the world collapse on her.
I need to go home.
Glancing away, Marinette grabbed her bag, dashing out the door. Everyone who knew something was up was hurting. Nino because of Alya, Marinette because of everything, and Adrien because he was watching everyone he loved disappear or crumble. And all because of her. Because she couldn't fix it. Marinette squeezed through the crowds, the tears she tried so hard to conceal suddenly taking the stage front and center. The wind fanned at her tear-stricken face, cooling those parts. She didn't care if students stopped to stare at her running down the stairs or out of the school or down the sidewalk. She was almost home. Almost safe. She slipped into the side door that led to the stairwell, quickly gaining altitude. The tears fell more violently. Her head throbbed as she gasped for air. She fumbled as she slid the key into the lock of her front door, pushing it open and closing it behind her. Frantically, she climbed the stairs and slammed the door of her hatch behind her. The dark room welcomed her, embracing her like an old friend. Marinette collapsed on the ground, clutching herself and retreating into the tiny space under her vanity. Her breath became more frantic, the sharp inhale and exhale of hyperventilation taking over her. She dug her fingers into the leg of her vanity and her heart pounded in her ears. With the click of her bag, Tiki emerged.
Marinette, calm down!
Marinette couldn't stop the panic. She shut her eyes and grasped the necklace on her neck, the Quagatama Tiki had gifted her. Images of Alya floated through her mind.
Why couldn't I save her?
Marinette thought, her heart aching with the weight of her own words. She curled tighter into herself, choking back another sob. She pictured Alya being tortured by whoever this organization was. She pictured them holding her at gunpoint as she poured her heart out about all the secrets Marinette held. Her tears streamed down her face as her body began trembling. Helpless, she began to feel lightheaded. The screams of Alya began filling her head, over and over. Marinette's hands clapped over her ears, drowning out her surroundings.
Stop it! Stop it!
She screamed, violently sobbing and shaking. Gloved hands replaced hers. Marinette, breathe!
Make it stop!
Marinette, I'm here! He pulled her into him. I'm here! He repeated. Marinette sobbed into his shoulder, clutching him and trembling. It's okay. He held her head in the small of her back tightly, rocking her back and forth. It's okay. He repeated softer, slowing his rhythm. Just breathe. Marinette grew quiet, her heart rate slowing and her breathing becoming deeper. For moments it was just them. Noir slowly rocking her and holding her. Nothing in the world could hurt them, and nothing else mattered. She inhaled into him, feeling the warmth of his body against her own. You're okay, he whispered to her. We're okay. She pulled back and started his gleaming emerald eyes, tearing like her own. Speechless, she pressed a kiss to his lips, slow and full of somber. The taste of salt pierced her tongue, not just from her tears, but from him as well. He offered her a sad smile and observed her face, red from crying, wet from tears and mucus. Let me get us some tissues. He helped Marinette settle on the floor before getting up and picking up the tissue box that sat on her desk. Coming back, he offered a tissue to Marinette. She gladly took it and began cleaning her face.
Thanks.
She mustered out. Noir took another tissue and sat in front of Marinette. He cleaned the tears from his eyes and blew his nose, Marinette following suit.
I'm sorry.
Marinette started softly as soon as her nose was cleared. Noir cupped her cheek in his hand. It's okay, Marinette. I know how you feel.
I'm just scared. I want this all to be over.
He nodded solemnly. I get it, Marinette, I do. You don't have to apologize. Just let me be there for you, and we'll get through this, one day at a time. Despite her growing fears, she gulped hard and calmed herself down.
One day at a time.
Marinette rubbed a thumb against his cheek, feeling the remnants of moisture. He sniffled quietly and looked at her with loving eyes. They would get through this. Together. Marinette wiped the last tears from her cheeks, the weight in her chest a little lighter now, but the question still gnawed at her. As if remembering, Marinette's demeanor became urgent.
They called. Alya and Lila.
Noir placed his hand on hers. You don't have to talk about it right now. On the wooden beam beside them, Tiki sat, watching from afar as the scene played out before her.
No, I want to talk about it.
She took a deep breath and let her eyelids fall close, remembering the details.
It was a video call with Alya first. She looked the same. She said she was on a vacation in the middle of the Pacific. It doesn't make sense. Even if that were true, why didn't she tell anyone?
Marinette's gaze shifted to her desk, Alya's glasses still folded neatly on the surface. She walked to them and picked them up, showing them to Noir.
Worst of all, she was wearing her glasses. Glasses that there's no way she could have had.
Noir followed her off the ground and slipped his hand into hers, letting her continue.
I know it wasn't her, There's no way it could be her. She called Rose Juleka. Alya has been around Rose and Juleka all the time. She's never accidentally mixed them up. They're too distinct. They don't remotely look or even sound the same.
If not Alya, then what? Do you think it's the organization? Noir was referring to the organization called WASH, that was presumed to harbor superhumans like Lila and Alya.
I don't know. Maybe? I mean, we don't know if she or Lila got away. What if that lady's still alive, or what if they all died and we're just chasing dead ends?
She looked back at him, feeling numb from her little episode.
I mean, what? It's been months?
Chat Noir stepped closer to her and slowly grabbed the glasses from her hands and set them back on the desk. He pulled her into another hug. It's okay. We're gonna figure this out. Head rested under his chin, Marinette continued.
Lila said she was on a business trip with Gabriel Agreste.
He paused. Really? So we think he's a part of it? He asked Marinette, a different tone in his voice that Marinette couldn't quite catch on to.
I don't know. It's possible. I mean, they both have been gone for 2 months now. I just know that the 2 girls who showed up today weren't real. It has to be something else. Brainwashing, a body double, something. I just don't get it.
It sounds like they're trying to cover up their disappearances. I just don't get how it relates to Gabriel Agreste, Chat Noir suggested. They thought in silence for a few minutes, letting the time tick by like they had all night. I mean, is it possible they were being controlled? Chat Noir asked. Marinette furrowed her eyebrows but allowed him to continue. The last time we saw them it seemed like they were. It was only when you used your lucky charm that it looked like they were free. So, if they were captured, there's no doubt that they were probably being controlled after you called for your miraculous ladybugs. Stopping herself from being sucked into another memory, Marinette considered it.
If they were back under their control, why haven't they come for us? Why haven't they come for the miracle box?
Marinette asked, gesturing to the geometric box that was hidden in a box under her desk along with the other boxes filled with fabric. I don't know. It almost feels like whatever happened that day threw them off, something that wasn't supposed to happen but did. Chat Noir finished. For the next few hours, they ricocheted ideas off of one another and made jokes about the situation. They paused their conversation for a quick meal that Chat Noir had to bribe Marinette to eat as the sun began setting. Before they knew it, they were back at it. This time, instead of indulging in the mind-numbing suggestions, they found themselves playing a video game, laughing into the night as they played. Before long, it was almost midnight. Marinette had won another round and Chat Noir yawned. I should probably head out. He placed the controller on her desk and rolled backwards slightly. Marinette grabbed his hand.
Can you stay the night? Please?
She asked, looking at him in a way that made it hard to say no. Milady, I have to get home before my guardian worries, he said softly, tracing along her hand.
Tell them you're at a friend's house.
In Plague?
De-transform here.
Marinette.
I'll wear a blindfold. We'll turn out the lights. I won't see you.
Marinette added, ducking under her desk and scavenging for a stray piece of fabric she could use. Triumphant, she emerged with a thick black piece of fabric and began tying it around her head. Marinette. He placed a hand on hers. And what are we going to do if someone sees us?
They won't. We'll cover all the windows.
Marinette tightened the knot behind her head, a quiet smile breaking through her exhaustion. Chat Noir sighed and looked over at Tiki. Tiki, tell her this is a bad idea. Tiki, who sat in a corner with a needle and fabric, shrugged.
It might be, but if Alya and Lila are back, who knows how many more nights we have.
Chat Noir sighed as Marinette lifted the fabric. Fine. He paused, Marinette smiling, but on 2 conditions. I want absolutely no talk about anything related to that agency. If I'm gonna stay, you're gonna relax. He ticked off on his fingers. Second, I get to go home and shower first. Marinette smiled brightly.
Deal.
If I'm not back in 30 minutes, don't wait up for me. Chat Noir instructed, to which he nodded. With that, he headed out back to his home for a quick shower. Marinette did the same and slipped downstairs for a shower. She didn't take too long, just enough to get the feelings of tears and sweat off of her. By the time she finished, Chat Noir still wasn't back and it had only been 20 minutes. Marinette closed the curtains on her windows, making sure there was no way anyone could peer into them. As she reached the window near her desk, she addressed Tiki.
That's a nice beanie you're making.
Tiki looked up from her crocheting and nodded.
It's for Plague since we're gonna see him.
Marinette smiled, understanding that the 2 Kwamis rarely get to see each other. Tiki's eyes downcast.
I'm sorry for not being able to help you earlier.
Marinette looked down at the glasses still folded neatly on her desk.
It's okay. I know you mean well, Tiki. That's never gonna change. I don't say it enough, but thank you, Tiki, for always being there for me.
Tiki smiled. The red and black Kwami resumed her project. It was a very small beanie made with green yarn. There were tiny cutouts at the top for Plague's ears. Marinette smiled softly and looked down to her hand where she was subconsciously holding Alya's glasses. The glasses felt too real in her hands, as if they were some twisted reminder of the truth she didn't want to face. Her fingers traced over the smooth frame, seeking any clue she might have missed before.
Alya?
She whispered under her breath, too low for Tiki to hear.
Where are you, Alya?
There was a small flood on the roof above her, and Marinette quickly turned off all the lights but the one Tiki was under. She climbed up the stairs with her blindfold in hand, just as Chat Noir jumped down into her bed.
You took your time.
Marinette joked, getting comfortable in bed. Yeah, I used it to text my guardian that I was going to stay the night at a friend's. He settled down against the railing and faced Marinette. Marinette giggled.
And it worked?
Yeah, he chuckled. It worked. Marinette took a good look at his face under the glow of the moon before slipping the blindfold over her head and securing it over her eyes. She reached for his hand and he gladly took it in his. Are you sure about this? What if you accidentally see me? He questioned.
I won't.
Marinette said simply.
I want you to stay.
Okay. But...
Chat Noir, I love you. Nothing wrong is going to happen. Worst case scenario, I see you. But it's been long enough anyway.
Marinette explained, clutching his hand. Aren't you the one who always says that we shouldn't know each other's identities? Chat Noir asked skeptically.
And you know mine.
Marinette chuckled.
But I guess you're right. I promise I won't look. I'll keep my eyes shut.
I trust you, but only if this is what you really want, Chat Noir replied.
It is.
Paused and let go of Marinette's hand. Close in. She couldn't see him, but she felt the difference in the air. He was no longer Chat Noir. He was just... him. And yet she felt safer than ever. Marinette? He asked softly. Marinette reached out to grab his hand, feeling the warmth of his ungloved skin. Marinette gasped at the sensation. She interlaced her fingers with his, bringing his hands up in the air. Her free hand traced from his other hand up his arm into the nape of his neck. He leaned into her hand as she traveled up his neck into his hair. It was soft, but a little shorter than she was used to. Finding the top of his head where his ears normally sat, she ruffled his hair, letting go of his hand and finding the sides of his face. She held him in her hands.
This is new.
She whispered.
But I'm also not afraid of not knowing.
The boy smiled softly and brought his hands to her face, feeling her skin on his. Marinette leaned in and pressed her lips to his. He was still the same boy she fell in love with. She pulled him into a hug, holding him tight and breathing him in.
You don't smell like anything.
She noted. I showered in a generic brand so you couldn't smell me. He rubbed her back softly, relishing in holding her without the suit between them.
Smart.
She smiled. Are they always this sickening? Plag asked Tiki in a whisper loud enough for the couple to hear them.
Mostly.
Tiki shrugged.
You get used to it, though.
The boy turned to the two Kwamis at the foot of Marinette's bed. We can hear you, you know. Marinette giggled and directed her attention to Tiki.
Don't you have something you wanted to give to Plag?
Though Marinette couldn't see, she could tell Tiki's face lit up.
Right! Flag, I made you something.
Is it food? Plag asked as Tiki flew down to Marinette's desk. When she returned, she carried two small beanies, one made with a sage green yarn and the other made with a light rose yarn.
For you.
She handed the creation to the Kwami and he gladly took it, pulling it over his head. Like springs, his tiny ears popped out of the little holes and Plag melted. It's perfect. Thanks, Sugar Cube. Did you make those, Tiki? The boy asked. Tiki hummed in response.
I learned from Marinette.
Marinette smiled softly once more, feeling comfort in the moment.
So is your hair really blonde?
No, I have more natural hair, kind of like a rich shade of green. She laughed, reaching for his hair even though he prevented her.
Is that a challenge? 'Cause I can go buy some green hair dye if you really want.
She joked. No use in dyeing it if it's already green. He chuckled, still holding her wrist.
And your eyes?
Marinette leaned closer to his face, a smirk playing at her lips. He was delighted to see Marinette playful again. He'll have to wait for that one. The feeling of dread escaped her stomach and was replaced with butterflies for the boy who sat before her. He removed his hands from her wrists and Marinette placed them on his chest. She kissed him softly, letting her hands wander.
I'd wait forever for you.
She whispered in between kisses. He smiled against her lips and pulled her closer so she was practically on his lap. I know you would. He ran his fingers through her hair. And so would I, my love. He murmured. Marinette giggled softly against him, her stomach doing a somersault as he took hold of her waist.
I don't know what I'd do without you.
He applied a slight pressure to her, instructing her head to her pillow. The air escaped her lungs as she laid down. She felt the two slight dips in the mattress beside her shoulders and presumed it with his hands. Well, without me you wouldn't have had your first kiss, would you have? Marinette realized what he was doing. The first time she kissed him was when they fought Dark Cupid over a year ago. Even though Chat Noir had no recollection of the kiss, it was published in an interview with Nadia Shamak. Chat Noir, who was under Dark Cupid's influence at the time, was on top of Ladybug, and the only way to break the spell was through a true love's kiss. I've always wondered how our first kiss went. The boy joked from above her.
Well,
Marinette brought her hands above her head.
it was something like...
She smiled and brought her hands to his face, leaning in and kissing him hard. After a few seconds, she pressed her lips against him harder, turning her head slightly. Finally, she let go and let her hands fall beside her head. Still dazed, she finished.
That
Was better than I imagined. He breathed softly. She giggled and let him get comfortable on the bed beside her. He wrapped his arms around her and rested her head on the boy's chest, listening to the rise and fall of his breathing. Their hands found each other once again, entwining their fingers. Your hands are soft, the boy whispered into her hair. Marinette smiled against the fabric on his chest and let out a small sound.
Yours too.
Marinette's breast slowly synced up with his as their hearts beat as one. The burden on both of them drifted away as they slid into slumber. There was something oddly calming about holding each other under the moonlight. Despite not knowing who she laid upon, she didn't wish for more. It was enough knowing him that whoever it was didn't matter. For that night, she let her worries fall around her. Tonight, the girl who fell from the tower wouldn't be able to reach her.
And just like that, the first chapter of The Broken Mirror, The Last Shard, has come to an end. This right here is the cover I made for this chapter, and it just feels so fitting for the chapter. Don't you agree? This is by far the longest chapter we've ever written. How did you all like it? If you did, be sure to follow and rate our podcast on Spotify. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's so much we've yet to uncover, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next chapter. Chapter 2, Behind Closed Doors. But before that, enjoy these chaotic bloopers.
For weeks, Marinette would wake up in the dead... Okay, I'm gonna do that again. The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue, articulatory tools, bitch. Okay.
What the fuck?
Your uncle. He's not doing well.
My uncle.
His caregiver gave me... No. Your uncle. My uncle.
Oh my god, my mic.
Your uncle. My uncle.
My uncle!
Oh, great.
It's her great uncle.
Kind of.
Well... Chloe was filing her nails, blowing away at the dust of creatine. Yep. Keratin? Why did I say creatine? Gym rat. Build that muscle, Chloe. Sabine on the... Sabina? Alright.
Sabina.
Yes, queen, slay. Behind the two sat Milan and Ali. Fuck. Hydrate or die straight. Hydrate or die straight, y'all. Now, before we begin today's lesson, I have a surprise for you all. As you know, your classmates Alya and Lila haven't been with us. Fuck! I'm on a roll! Suddenly, a sound played through the room's speakers, and Alya appeared on the projector. Screen. Fuck. I hate when I do that, when, like, you read a line, then you stop with, like, a period, and you're like, shit, the line's not over. Chance break.
Hey.
Marinette had forgotten to note one of her main descriptions. Her glasses. She was... Fuck. Miss Bustier nodded and exited the room. He exited the room. She didn't... She just walks out and just leaves the class behind.
Can I use the restroom? What the heck?
Can I use the restroom? I gotta pee. I'm sorry. Okay. Fuck.
Turns out...
Marinette squeezed through the crowds. The tear she tried so hard to conceal suddenly taking stage in front. That was beautiful writing, for one. She pictured them holding her at gunpoint as she poured her heart out about being all... She pictured them holding her at gunpoint as she poured her heart She pictured them holding her at gunpoint as she poured her heart out about... Ugh! He offered her a sad smile and observed her face. Red from crying, wet from tears and mucus. That's disgusting. Kip, yep. Kip. Smashed a kip to her lip. Speechless, she pressed the kip to... Fuck, enough now. Fuck. Tiki, who sat in the corner with a needle and fabric, shrugged. What the fuck is shugged? Okay. Hell yes.
It might be, but if Alya and Lila are back, who knows how many more nights we have.
That's so depressing. Oh my god. Hydrate or die straight. It worked. That was a girl chuckle. What the fuck was that, Flynn? Giggle, giggle. The fuck was that? It's like giving that girly pop sleepover again. Like, emphasis on the girly pop.
Girly Pop Sleepover Part 2.
Okay. Yeah. He chuckled. It worked. That was fucking horrible. I'm gonna kill myself. What the fuck?
Straight Noir. 4K.
Oh my god. Now I can only think about like and he chuckled. Are you sure about this? What if you accidentally fuck? These bloopers are gonna be a fun assortment in this. Hiding the top of the head. Top of the head, just the head. It's just like a floating thing. Are they always this sick? Nope, I can be more nasally than that. Nasally, bitch. Fucking plaque. Stinky socks and cheese. No use in dyeing it if it's already green. He chuckled, still holding her.
Sounds like a little snotty bitch.
No use in dyeing it if it's already green, bitch. Oh my god. No use in dyeing it if it. Fuck. He moved his hands from her wrists and Marinette pulled them on his chest. Placed them on his chest. Pulled? Sorry, I'm in a really goofy mood today.
And people wonder why we don't get anything done.